Thanks so much, everyone, for joining this Menti session. We'll be talking about how you can utilize Mentimeter to make learning stick. And what I mean by that is that Mentimeter is an engagement software. So today we're going to be exploring a bunch of different use cases and examples of different activities you can run in your classes, either synchronously or asynchronously, or in a hybrid or fully virtual or on-site environment. In order for you to experience what I'm talking about in a bit of a more practical way, there is this QR code available on the screen there. So if you can pull up your camera and scan it, this will lead you to my presentation and you'll become an active participant of today's session. And this will also give you a sense of how your students basically will be feeling and what kind of experience they'll be going through if you are to use Menti in your classes. And once you have scanned that QR code, you'll see everything I'm sharing on my screen on your phone as well. And I just urge you to give me one of the reactions available you see on the bottom of that page. So once you have connected, you will see that there is a heart, there is a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Feel free to select one of those as an indication that you have connected. Oh, sorry. So once again, just scan the QR code, or you can manually as well go to menti.com on whatever browser you prefer. And then you can use the code 29517433. This works exactly like scanning the QR code, but it's a bit more time consuming to some extent. So once you have either scanned the QR code or you have manually input the code that's on top of the screen, either or, just give me one of the reactions from your phone.
About the heart, right?
The heart is okay. Yep. Sorry, I can't see what's happening in the room in case someone needs additional guidance. There we go. We have a few extra reactions. Alrighty. Well, for the sake of time, I'll move forward. The manual instructions will remain on the top of the screen. So if you're still finding your way through your browser and putting in the code, don't worry, when I move the slides, the code will remain the same so you can connect. Let me get in here. Very quickly about myself. I'm a senior faculty development and student engagement specialist here at Menti, and I love bragging about my beautiful two dogs. This is Riley and Mr. Cusco. And there's also my email address in case you would like to connect after today's session and dig deeper or have any specific questions. I also work very closely with Shilpa from the e-learning Canvas team. So feel free to reach out to her as well if you would like additional information. Now let's go through a bit of a housekeeping. So once you have connected to Menti, as you see every time I move a slide, you see the exact same thing that is presented on my shared screen on that voting device of yours. And at the bottom of every page, there are the reactions you have already utilized, but there's also two other buttons. The first
Sorry,
one,
Sylvia?
Yep.
Sorry, one of the students who I had stepped out from, can you either go back to the browser or the QR real quickly? I'm
Yep.
remedial. Thanks for my colleagues in the room. Yeah. So
There we go.
I am very loud about being remedial, sorry.
No, please guide the way. You're my eyes and my ears into what's happening in the room, so.
All right, thanks. And is there a certain code that I need?
Or no, you can just...
Nope, got it.
Yep, just scan the QR code and you're good to go.
Thanks.
Perfect, no worries. And yeah, I was walking you through the buttons that will be available on the bottom of every page. You have to send a comment. This is extremely, I would say, optional. It is if you want to say something, it's a quick comment that comes and goes and appears on the screen. But what's most important for you is that Q&A button at the end. We are a very small group today and I encourage you to feel free to ask your questions verbally, but You can imagine if you're finding yourself in a bigger student group, not everyone might feel comfortable raising their hand or asking question verbally. This open Q&A functionality allows you to ask a question directly through that connection we have established. And that question anonymously will appear here with an indicator for me, so I can stop and answer that whenever convenient for my flow. So don't be afraid that if you're putting a question in there, you'll be disturbing anything or stopping the delivery. The question will be submitted, and then I can answer it whenever I believe is the best time to do so. So keep those in mind. You can use them as much as you want, or once again, verbally ask questions or make comments. We're going to go through a few Mentimeter questions now, just to collect a bit of information about your pre-existing knowledge and experiences, but also you filling in those questions will give you an understanding of what it is to be on the voter side of Mentimeter before you potentially put your working shoes on and start building similar exercises for your own classes. The first one we're doing now is what we call a pin on image. So I love old Nicolas Cage movies, and I have downloaded this beautiful representation of emotions and feelings. And there is a dot right in between Nicolas Cage's focused sunglasses. So if you use your finger or your mouse, whatever device you're using, and you move that dot to the Nicolas Cage emotion that represents you the best today, this will give your answer to me. So feel free to place it around and see how it goes. This is
We're putting our finger, we're just putting our finger on the feeling or what?
Yeah, so you can just move the dot that is currently on focused and place it on the feeling that represents your emotional state today.
Okay.
And then you click submit.
Submit. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, this is a question that I can ask in an open-ended form, or we have a word cloud that is beautifully visual, and I can ask you how are you feeling today, and then I rely on you to tell me in your own words. I decided to do it slightly different today by using a more visually stimulating question. But I also want you to know that this pin on image functionality is fantastic for actual pedagogical assessment. If they're correct areas that you want your students to be able to identify, you can use this as a way to see if they're able to work through an image, analyze what's needed, and identify, for example, a correct area. In my particular case here, it was just to see where we are today. And thankfully, there is no one here who's stressed or feeling like bees are all over the place. So I can continue forward with a bit of a calmer idea in mind. Now, I'll ask you a bit of a more personal question. And this time I'm using what we call the word cloud. And I'm asking you, what does student engagement mean to you? And you have 3 fields for 3 separate words. You can fill in one word only, or you can fill all of those. But think of those words or phrases that basically describe what student engagement means to you. And I'll actually hide the responses so you don't get influenced by each other's answers.
Oh, no copying, right?
No cheating. So those of you that have already voted, you see that there's a lot of colors here popping up, but no words. This is because before you started voting, as mentioned, I came here to this toolbar by just moving my mouse, and I clicked on hide responses to prevent that bias, to prevent that potential cheating by just seeing someone else's answers. But here I'm very easily able to tell that the majority of my students, aka you today, have answered. So I can come over here and show you the responses. So this is a word cloud. We currently see that all of the words here are with the exact same font, meaning that there wasn't one word that has been submitted by multiple people. If there has been one, then let's say the word thoughtful was submitted by 4 different people or 4 different times, that word will become bigger and bigger and giving you a beautiful kind of like a cloud perception of commonalities and trends. However, our group today here has a very individual reflections, and we have discussion and connection, we have involved and alert, we have fun, discovery dynamic. Interesting. I can see commonalities definitely between these words, but I'm very happy to also see that they're different. Why I'm asking this question is just to understand what matters to you the most, and to also, of course, give you a perception of what a word cloud is and how it can be used. In your particular classes, in your particular exercises, just think of anything that can be described with a word or two. You can use that for formative assessment. You can ask students to basically answer a particular question and just give you an indication if they come up with the same answers and the same categories. It can be used to dig deeper into particular conversations, what something means to them similarly to this, what are their aspirations, what are the challenges they're facing, anything that can be bulked more or less into words instead of sentences can be a great use case for the word cloud. And what I will do here now is show you test examples. These are random words. They have nothing to do with the question itself, but I want you to see when this builds up, how it works when there are words that have been submitted by multiple people. In this particular case, you see creative is bigger and it's in the middle of it because it has been submitted multiple times. So you can expect a similar flow and a similar view when some of your students answer a question in a slightly similar manner. Wonderful. I will now move on and ask you for another more personal reflection. This one is much easier because they're pre-selected answers, but can you let me know how familiar you would rate yourself to be with Mentimeter? You have presented many times, you have used it maybe once or twice, you have voted before like you're doing now, but not necessarily presenting. Or this is your first ever exposure to what Menti is. And we're using a simple multiple choice question here with bars. The only difference is that I've added a bunch of GIFs for a more visual representation, but those are optional. You can, of course, stick to more traditional view with either bar charts or donuts or pies, or we have dots as well. And you can, of course, use GIFs by your own choosing if you wish. Alrighty, well, this was to be expected. When we scheduled that session, we assumed that the majority of the folks that would be interested in joining our session today would be slightly or fully new to Menti. And we seem to have a division between someone has voted before, but not necessarily presenting, and first ever experience. So I'll do my best to cover as much as I can today in our 40 minutes left by giving you everything you need to start your journey with Menti, but also giving you the theoretical reasons behind. While we're on the topic of these reflections, I would like to walk you through another self-reflection exercise that looks in a slightly different way. We'll move to the next question, and we're using what we call scales here. So as you see, I have my big question, which is rate your confidence in the following areas. And then there are 5 different, call them statements, areas that you need to individually rate. And the rating here is numerical, but there's also subjective answers behind, from not confident at all yet to very confident. So use your finger or your mouse on whatever device you're using to place the scale on each statement on the number that reflects your comfortability with that particular topic or area. Those of you that voted at the very beginning, you see that there was a lot of movement on the screen, and this is because this particular slide is designed to give the average from everyone's votes together. So if I take working with student feedback, as you see on average is 3.5, that's above neutral, so there is an overall, I would say, some form of comfortability within the room. However, if I move my mouse and hover it over this particular statement, I will see the individual answers. And I see that there's one person here who's very comfortable and confident with student feedback or working with it. But on the other end, we have someone else who doesn't necessarily feel the exact same way. So even though there is on average neutral or more leaning towards comfort level, there is still a person in this room who would benefit more from additional ideas or support maybe on how to do that. We're not going to necessarily dig deeper into all of these individual reflections here, but this is an example for me on what do I need to focus on for the rest of the session. I have personally decided to have these 5 different statements because I know how to pace myself when I talk about Mentimeter. I expected this to be low because of the previous question, but I also needed to know, are polling and engagement tools something you're overall comfortable with? Maybe it's just Menti, or is it the whole idea of it? So I'll be using these answers over here to pace myself a bit better, I guess, and use the language needed going forward. But I also want you to remember this scales question type as a way to numerically, to some extent, assess either comfort or knowledge or preferences. Anything that you can put on a Likert scale, more or less, can be easily replicated with Mentimeter, and you don't have to have many statements at once. It can be just one statement on the slide. Also, the dimensions are easily adjustable as well. You can have not satisfied to satisfied, or disagreeing to fully agree, or whatever question you have in mind. So that is fully up to you. But if there is a formative assessment exercise or an active learning exercise you have in mind that you would like to perform using a Likert scale, you can definitely do that with the help of Menti. We will now move on, and because there were basically 2 people from our very small group today that voted as I have never experienced Mentimeter before, this is the first time I see it, I have this beautiful gif of like, why are we here? Obviously you have read the agenda and it has appealed to you, but I wanted to give you the very quick rundown of what Mentimeter is in general. And this is the image I want you to keep in mind and remember when you think of Menti. This is what we want to combat and battle. That silence in the classrooms, the crickets, the unawareness of, is learning sticking, as the name of our session today? Are there many misconceptions that we need to address? Some of my students might not be equally engaged as others, pre-existing beliefs or expectations, etc. So with Menti, because everyone is more or less given a voice, as long as they're of course willing to give that a voice, you are combating a lot of the loudest voices in the rooms. I would say where you just rely on someone who feels more comfortable speaking to you and engaging with you in class. And how we do that is that Mentimeter is anonymous to begin with, and by default. So everything that happens today here is fully anonymous. So there is no fear or anxiety associated with, oh, I voted myself quite low on working with student feedback. What would my peers think about that? This is completely removed and it's off the table. And it gives everyone the ability to be more reflective and more honest in their answers with you. We have the polling. You already experienced the multiple choice and a word cloud and the scales, and there are other question types available as well. But as mentioned, we have the Q&A as well. The Q&A is that fantastic feature for giving your students the proactive voice. Yes, of course, you want to have, let's call them polling questions in between your slides, and you want to do your exercises, but you still want to give your students that ability to ask you questions and maybe direct you if something's challenging or misunderstood. And last but not least, Menti has interactive slides as well. So everything you see today has been built in Menti. So I didn't have to use PowerPoint to do these slides where I only have content, but there is an integration with PowerPoint as well. So you don't have to recreate everything you've ever done. You can either embed Mentimeter into PowerPoint or import PowerPoint into Menti instead, and combine these 2 worlds of content delivery and engagement activities. And last but not least, it is applicable in any environment. You can do it synchronously as we're doing it today. You can flip it completely and do it in a completely self-paced mode. We're not necessarily going to be covering this today because I want you to feel comfortable with the synchronous use first before you move to asynchronous engagement. And when you get to the point of synchronous engagement, don't worry if you're hybrid, fully online, fully in person, it works the exact same way. There's no limitations on how many students can participate or where they are joining you from. So this is the very quick technology overview of what Menti is. And these are examples of where you can use Menti or for what. I mentioned formative assessment quite a lot because it's the most, in my opinion at least, the most obvious use case of Menti. You want to assess knowledge. There are many questions you can ask. We'll be talking about retrieval practice very quickly of how you can use Menti for that. You can use it if you're running scenario-based questions or you have case studies. You can phrase your questions in such a way that it prompts your students to assess or analyze information and guide their answers. You can use it for fun. We saw a very brief, like, how are you feeling today icebreaker, but I'll show you a bit more today as well. Anything that has to do with asking your students for feedback or reflections or guidance on what might be challenging or what more they might need to succeed in their learning. And of course, active learning and critical thinking, anything and everything is on the table. Menti, you'll see it's super simple in terms of creation and presenting. As you see, I just move slides and then you vote. Where its most power comes from is the questions you're, of course, putting out there. So hopefully by the end of today, you'll see, or this session, you'll see how easy it is to create questions. And then we will unleash your inner question beast and you can start thinking of the different activities you can potentially be running with your students. Now, as mentioned before, I show you very quickly of how things are created. So you see how easy it is to recreate those multiple choice and word cloud questions we saw today. I would like to give you a bit of a quick theoretical understanding of how you can use Menti for some of these areas that were covered here. We don't necessarily have the time to do it all, but I'd like to show you how you can use Menti for formative assessment and retrieval practice and for fun. It's important to know that we can equally help you with the fun in the classroom as we can help you with achieving the learning outcomes. Now, probably one of the most simple way to start with is just using Menti for retrieval practice. Especially now at the beginning of the new academic year, if you have the pleasure of meeting with students that you have taught last year as well, it's a very simple way of double checking what kind of information has already stuck with them and what they can remember. And I've put here something that we all know, but continuously and actively recalling information strengthens memory and learning more than passive review. So it's important for us to establish that ability to recall information before we dig deeper or go up Bloom's taxonomy into something more high order thinking. So I will show you on the next slide just text examples of prompts or questions you can ask your students to be able to see if they can retrieve information or if they remember enough to be able to build upon that in this new semester. And these are very simple questions you can ask on Menti on what we call an open-ended question. So you give them the full ability to answer. What was your main takeaway from last class? Extremely simple question to ask at the beginning of new class. Even the word cloud that we saw, you can use that as well and see which words stuck the most. That can give you an indication if maybe students don't necessarily recall concept XYZ that you think it's important for them to really recall at the very beginning. List 3 to 5 things you learned from last class. What connections can you make between last week's material and today's topic? Or even better, what's a real world example of the topic we discussed last time or you think we'll be discussing today? Once again, the questions you can ask are completely up to you, and Gen AI in general helps a lot, at least for me, on rephrasing some of the questions as long as I have good ideas in mind. But I encourage you to utilize Menti to do this because otherwise we kind of go with the assumptions that our students remember everything that we wanted them to remember, and then we move on quite quickly. But there might be a slight difference in what actually stuck with them and what didn't. So this is retrieval. Feel free to experiment, not just with these questions, but anything else that comes to mind. Now let's talk about formative assessment. And this is a quote I found from Google that I have been using for a while because I like how it talks about additional superpowers. So I will show you screenshots now of different formative assessment exercises that instructors from different institutions that I personally work with have used Menti for to give you that visual understanding of what's possible. The first one we have here, it's a very simple multiple choice question. The only difference is that it's visually different. It's not the bar chart with the GIFs that I had previously, but they're dots. And this is from nursing in particular, so it's a heavy question for me personally to be able to answer, but as you see, what is the goal of a specific thing that we have discussed? And then there are 4 different statements, very simple multiple choice question. But as you can see, the instructor here can very easily see that there's still 37% of her group of students that completely misunderstands. We're talking about increase of blood pressure and not decreasing of blood pressure. This is very important, especially in a practice like that a lot of people's lives depend on. So this is a fantastic opportunity for the instructor to pause and clarify, why are we talking about an increase in blood pressure and not decrease? And this hopefully will also help with the final grades and performance in the exams if those misconceptions are addressed already now. Similarly, from a multiple choice perspective, something that we're all very comfortable with, just true and false and multiple statements. This is another example from the medical field here, but select all true that apply. This is something you can easily copy paste from your final exam. You can incorporate some of those questions in a formative assessment way with Menti and see if your students already now are where you want them to be, or if there are some challenges you would like to address. In this particular case, we can tell that most of the students were correctly identifying the correct answers, but there's still a bit of a misconception going on with option A and option D. So once again, wonderful opportunity for the instructor to clarify that. And I will repeat the potential of testing some of your exam questions in a formative assessment way with Menti. You can rephrase them, you can use them as they are, but they can give you quite a lot of insight into the future performance of your students quite early on in their potential journey with you. So these are 2 examples just using simple multiple choice questions, something that we're all very comfortable with. On the other hand, we have an open-ended, similarly to the retrieval practice I mentioned. This is from accounting, and we have a very broad, what is the difference between financial accounting and managerial accounting? As you can see here, there have been 34 responses from the different 34 students in the room, but the instructor is able to really see the differences the nuances in the answers. And there's also an AI functionality that usually pops up here on open-ended questions where you can group all of these answers into clusters to see the commonalities between them. The open-ended, it's basically the most versatile probably question you can ask out there, so feel free to experiment with it as well. Now, I very briefly chatted about icebreakers, and I think it's important for us to talk about not just icebreakers, but like having a bit more fun or lighter type of exercises in classes. But I wonder, do you personally use icebreakers, or let's call them non-topic, non-academic specific questions in your sessions? Okay. It's a mix, and that is perfectly fine. I will show you a few examples once again from other instructors, just to give you an understanding of what is possible. We're at a perfect time right now for you to experiment with this, because I assume you'll be meeting a bunch of new students now at the beginning of the new semester that you potentially don't know. Using icebreakers like the following ones that we'll be exploring, it's a great way for you to get to know them in a group setting and give them the opportunity to guide you into what matters to them and establish a bit of a more human-to-human connection before you get into the proper academic business. This is an example of a question that doesn't necessarily give you any connection to the topic you're teaching, but it can establish quite a lot of conversations and once again, human to human. If you had to be on a reality TV show, what show would you be on, and maybe even why? You see different examples here from apparently many people want to be on Cops and Big Brother, but you can also ask some students, hey, whoever is feeling comfortable, what did you answer here and why? And this can also create a bit of a connection between the students as well. If whoever has answered Big Brother over here answers verbally why they have done that, the other person that has also said that might approach them after that to talk about it. It's a very quick and simple way of connecting in a more of an interactive way. Another example here, we have the multiple choice once again with GIFs or images or whatever you want. I encourage you to try this out for yourself. Do 2 truths and lie about you. the next time you meet a brand new group of students. You don't have to put the GIFs. I'll show you later on how to do it, but you don't have to do it. Just introduce yourself in a different way. This can also help you feel more comfortable with Menti in general, but it will also allow you to be more approachable to your students. You can, of course, complement that with however you usually present yourselves to them, but this is a fun little game you can use in accordance. Now, we have 20 minutes left. I will go now behind the scenes. So this GIF is representing us peeking in and see how you can create a lot of stuff. And I will just exit where we are. And what I will do now for simplicity, because none of you have technically created anything Menti related before, what I will do is I'll go to mentimeter.com. And this is where we end up. It's Mentimeter's main main page. There's go to home here. If you haven't logged in, there will be the ability to log in. I will let you know at the very end how to request your license, but to give it a bit of the gist now, reaching out to canvas@american.edu will give you full access to Menti. The Canvas team and the e-learning support services team handles those requests. But we'll get there. Let's imagine now that you have access to Menti now and you have logged in. What you can do is you have many ways to start with, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll click on New Menti. And then I'm asked, do I want to start from scratch? Do I want to use a template? There is a lot of pre-existing materials on our website and built in here that you can draw inspiration from, or do I want to go full in and upload a PowerPoint already now? We won't go there now. We'll just build a few questions together so you can see how the creation process works. I'll click Start from Scratch, and then what I'm prompted to do here on the left is choose what do I want to do. Similarly to PowerPoint and Google Slides, you have options of slides you need to select from. In our particular case, we start with what kind of interactive polling question you might want to ask.
Question.
Yeah.
How did you get to that screen? What did you do to get to that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I clicked here, Start from Scratch.
Okay, but how did you get to that screen though?
Oh, so here we go. I'll go back. So I clicked on New Menti here at the top.
Okay.
And this is what we're prompted with as soon as you click on New Menti. It's kind of like new presentation or new file.
She had mentioned before that we had to get help from Canvas who will give us an account or something.
Yes.
Cement into this program.
Oh, so okay, we have the contact Canvas?
Yeah, I think she said that we as faculty have access to the program.
Uh-huh.
But Canvas help will give us that access.
Okay.
So
okay.
when I went to the website, I cannot log on or get onto these pages.
But I got to contact Canvas help
Exactly.
to get to Menti.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because I just logged on and created an account at mentimeter.com while we're sitting there, but I used my AU address and it let me join the AU community. Is that the same thing or different than what Canvas will do?
It is different because what you're getting now, it's the free version, which gives you the ability to create all of these things. So the things I show you now, you can do with what we call the free version, but it has a limitation of 50 participants per month, which can be quite limiting. However, we have an agreement with American that gives you full unlimited access. So when you reach out to them through canvas@american.edu and ask for a license, they will add you to an internal system, and then you'll be able to log in with your internal credentials with single sign-on. So you don't have to sign up, create passwords or anything like this. It's very seamless. And then you just use Menti as you wish.
What about our students though? I mean, how do they get in?
Very good question. They technically don't need to create any accounts because you're my students today. So the only thing you needed to do is scan that QR code or type in the code manually. And
so all the student needs to do is either just go to the website, go to menti.com or what?
Yeah. So
okay.
Let's start from here. If I click on Start from Scratch now, let's pretend that you have been given the proper license and then you can log in. You clicked on your Menti, you come here, you want to start from scratch, and you want to ask a simple, let's say, word cloud question. When I click on Start from Scratch, this is what pops up. So I can select, do I want to ask a polling question? We have quiz competition, which is gamified, there is like a winner at the end, you know the gist, or do I want to create content? In our case, we want to create a quick word cloud. So when I click on it, I need to create my question. And as you see, I'm prompted over here to ask, what is that question you would like to ask? And how are you feeling today, for example?
Okay.
That's all you need to do. You have the question, you're ready to go. That's the only thing you would like to ask your students. How it works after is that once you're done creating it, you can click on present here on the top.
Well, when you asked us that question, you also had the Nicolas Cage, right? Now,
The
how did you
Nicolas
get that?
Cage was
Huh?
very good. So the Nicolas Cage was a different slide type, which was the pin on image. So I used an image for you to place your dot on that image. The word cloud is that question I asked you, what does student engagement mean to you?
Right.
So in my case, I don't necessarily have to add any answers here because I want you to tell me how you're feeling in your own words. So the only thing I need to do with the word cloud is just ask the question.
Okay, but if I wanted to put the image in, I would need to.
Correct.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
want to put the image in, then instead of a word cloud, you'll select pin on image here. And then how it works, you still need a question. So my question
Okay.
would still be, how are you feeling today?
Okay.
And then I need to click on the image over here. And then I'll be prompted on the right to upload whatever image. There is a, if you like that, if you just type in on a scale of in Google, you see cats and dogs and medieval paintings and sports and everything in between. So yeah, this is a slightly different way of asking the question.
But that's a good icebreaker, though.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I'm very biased towards it, so I'm trying not to like bias others. But there's many ways you can use the images per se to do something like that.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty. So if I go back here, we have the how are you feeling today, one shape or another. We need to choose which one we want today. And then you can keep on building your questions from here just by clicking on new slide and selecting whatever comes next. If we have the multiple choice, for example, we have to ask the question. Who runs the world is one of my favorite icebreakers. And because we have a multiple choice, we need to have preset answers here. So just click on the options over here. And then I'm prompted on the right, as you see, not directly on the canvas, but on the right to fill in my options. So option 1, I'll say dogs. Option cat, I'll say cats. And option 3, I don't need. I want the battle to be between these two. Very black or white in here in particular, but that's all I need to do. If the question was different and I had more multiple choice options in mind, I can keep adding the options needed here. So similarly to any other platform you might have used before to build multiple choice questions, it works in the exact same way. It just looks slightly different. I don't need all of those options. I'll keep it like that. There is a lot of things you can do here. You can change the visualization of how things look like. You can also add, as you've seen, images on top of the bar charts through these modules here, either GIFs, we'll have an integration with that, or you can upload your own picture. I don't need you to do that from the very beginning, though. These are wonderful visual additions to your slides, but your first step is just think of questions you can ask, feel comfortable putting those in, and then presenting them to your students. And then you'll see you've done it a few times, and then you'll be like, okay, what else can I do? I'm good with the basics. I would like to change maybe the visuals. But for the time being, that's not important for us. I will just delete these ones. So I will have now in this imaginary scenario of mine, how are you feeling today with the word cloud and who runs the world? These are 2 questions I want to ask my students today. After I have created, the only thing I need to do when I get to my students in class is open this presentation again and click on this present button on the top. Once I do that, my first question appears. And then this is the time when I need to onboard my students into the Menti. And how you can do that is either just walk them through the instructions here on the top of the slide. They always remain there. You just tell them, go to menti.com on your phone or a computer, tablet, whatever device you're having today, and type in this code. Works fine. Just takes a few more seconds for people to be able to see the code and type it in. Or similarly to what we did with the QR, it is a bit more scalable and a bit quicker. How you can get the QR is move your mouse to the very bottom of the page over here, and you'll get this toolbar. You will see third one from right to left, looks like a QR code. Just press on it. Automatically appears on the bottom left, but if you move your mouse, you'll see that you can use these arrows to place it somewhere else if it's in the middle of a text or image you have put in. This QR code doesn't... Sorry?
I'm sorry. The use code will come up though.
Sorry, the what?
The use code, the 3370, that will always appear.
Always be there, yes.
Okay.
So even if you don't remember how to get this QR code, don't worry, just walk them through these instructions. Students will feel very comfortable doing that. Just be ready to maybe read out the code a few times in case you're in a big lecture hall and some students might not see the number because they sit too far back. However they connect, either by following these more manual instructions or scanning the QR code, it works the exact same way. As soon as they have done that, they get into your Menti the way you did get into mine. So they will be able to vote in the exact same way you did today. By default, there's, as you see, like the thumbs up, they'll be able to give you that. They just need to do it once, and then they'll be able to follow all of the questions you raised to them. Does this make sense? Okay, I take the silence as a yes. Yeah. Silence is good. It means we are getting somewhere, but I also know that it takes practice, and that is perfectly fine. So once you get your access to Menti, once again, you can reach out to Canvas at american.edu and get your access sorted out. You can come in here and play around. Feel free to do an icebreaker or whatever question you want with your family or someone else from the department. It doesn't have to be your students if you want to test it out first. And what I would also recommend when you are figuring things out and you're wondering, have I chosen the correct question type? How is it going to look like? What kind of visuals should I expect? You can always rely on this little button in here next to share that looks like an eye. If you click on it, as you see, it says preview if I hover my mouse over it. The preview is kind of like a playground where you can test everything without affecting your presentation in any way. So when you put this on, as you see, this is a visual of when you present your screen, what will you be seeing and what your students will be seeing. And on the right, what are your students going to be seeing once they have connected to that QR code or have typed in that thing manually. And here you can play around and pretend to be the student. I'm feeling happy or sad or anxious, for example. You can just play around with the experience to know what your students will be going through in case they need help from you. You can click submit, and then you'll be able to see after you have answered the question, how it will appear for you on the screen, what kind of experience you will be going through once they have submitted. And then you can basically go to the next question as well through the arrows in here. You'll see all of the questions you have built. How will they be performing? How they'll be looking like? None of the things you do here will once again be saved on your presentation. You don't have to worry that you will be answering on their behalf or something will be saved. Just go through here in a way to prep yourself before a session. And once you're done, you can just exit this view and you'll go back to your clean slate. Alrighty, so this is how you create it. New slide, keep building. You can have up to 100 slides in one deck. So the first time you create a Menti, feel free to click on every single slide and see how it works and try to create something from it. The word cloud and the open-ended are the two questions where you don't need preset answers. So you just need a question. All of the other ones with the multiple choices we've seen with the scales, there is like ranking, there's different variations. You need to think of questions that have preset answers. So those might take you slightly more time to build unless you don't know the answers in your head and you're creating something from scratch. But the creation experience worked the exact same way as you would in any other one. So as you know, we have created the Who Runs the World now. It was very simple. I can create a scales now. Even though it's a completely different visual question, the creation is very similar to some extent. If I click on scales, I'm once again prompted, what is the question I would like to ask? And I can say, assess your comfort, for example. And then I need to click on the slide here, or the canvas as we call it. And then I need to build my statements. It's a scale, so it's a statement versus an option for multiple choice. Similarly to the multiple choice, on the right here, what is statement 1? Using technology, for example. What is the second statement? Studying on my own, for example. Completely different options here. Similarly to the multiple choice, I can build on as many or 10 statements as I want, or I can have just one. Today, I just want to assess my students' comfort with technology, and that's the only thing I need to do. The difference here, because it's a Likert scale, of course, you need to have the dimensions as clear as you want them to. By default, as you see, it's from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So the only slight change I need to do here for the scale is go to the very bottom and change what is the bottom of my scale. And this Likert, I will say, is not comfortable yet. For example, to top of the scale is very comfortable. So these are up to you to decide in terms of what are the dimensions, or you can use the default one, strongly disagree to strongly agree, but you of course need to phrase your question that fits that particular scale. And you can adjust the values as well. I know a lot of instructors prefer using scales that are slightly larger than 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, so you can decide what suits your needs best. Alrighty. The last thing I want to show you here is, because I already mentioned it as being very important, is that Q&A functionality. Sometimes when you don't have the time to do a lot of these activities or prep these activities in advance, what you can just do is have one Q&A slide. So when you go to new slide, there's a Q&A in here. Maybe that's the only question you would like to pose to your students today. Ask me anything. So when you get to them, you go through your PowerPoint, and at the very end, you just push this out to them. Or ideally, similarly to what you saw in my presentation, even when you're having all of those different questions and you complement those with your PowerPoint, etc., you would like them to ask you questions whenever they come to their mind, and not in that particular time when you're like, time for questions. How you do that is through the interactivity here. So if I click on this, there is enable Q&A. So if I toggle this on, as you see, it appeared automatically here on every slide that I create. I encourage you every time you build a Menti to come to the interactivity and select Q&A, just because it gives your students the ability to ask questions. You don't have to do that from the very beginning. We haven't necessarily gone as deep as needed in how you navigate the questions and how you open them up, but it can be a fantastic tool for you going forward. What I would recommend doing is before or when you get your Mentimeter access from the Canvas team, when you go to mentimeter.com and you go to the Learn section over here, there is something that we call Menti Academy. So this is our LMS, more or less. If you click on it and you'll log in with your same credentials as you would, when you go to the home page, you will find this Mentimeter for Educators course. It says it's 50 minutes. It can take you less or more depending on how much time you want to spend in it, but it's a phenomenal asynchronous self-paced flow of what it is to create a Menti, how it is to present it. It gives you all of the tips and tricks needed to give you that extra sense of comfort and confidence in using Mentimeter from a technical perspective. I encourage you to do it, and I will also, I think I just have Diraj in the Zoom in here, but I'm putting it in the Zoom as well. It can be copy pasted and shared with all of you. But once again, I encourage you to do that. And Shilpa from the Canvas team, who will be assigning the access as well, she has fantastic materials to share with you, including this page that can help you get there. Alrighty, I had a few, of course, additional slides just in case time was allowing for that, including a quiz competition, so you can fight each other and see who wins. But we don't have the time to do that. So just end over here with that's all, folks. I have the Mentimeter Academy in there, so you can click on it through your phone as well. But once again, you need to get your access sorted out first before you get there. And I see that I have 2 questions. So actually pause and answer those because I want you to see how this works. Because I went to the interactivity tab and selected enable Q&A, as you see here, I have an indication that 2 questions have been submitted. If I click on this now, I get this pop-up. The question is, how compatible is Menti with PowerPoint? Do we have to give our presentation in Menti? Or can we embed Menti questions in a PowerPoint presentations? Very good question. Both of those are applicable. We have a PowerPoint plugin, meaning that you create your questions in Menti, similarly to what we did now. You just pull your polling questions in one Menti deck, and then you can select whichever questions you want to put in between whatever PowerPoint slides you have. There is a guide internally that the Canvas team will share with you on how to do that. This is more for when you have less questions to ask, I would say, and you're heavily relying on PowerPoint animations or videos or like heavy text and heavy flow that you have in PowerPoint. Otherwise, if you don't necessarily have any animations that you heavily rely on, you can always click on new slide over here, and instead, to begin with, of choosing whatever interactive question you want to ask, you can click on import slides here at the very bottom. Here you can upload your PowerPoint, and every PowerPoint slide that you have will be transferred into Mentimeter. So you can imagine that you're going to have, let's say, 20 PowerPoint slides. You can still have that Q&A embedded on your PowerPoint slide. So even when you are delivering content that is not interactive, there's no polling questions, your students can still engage with you by giving you questions they might have in mind. Dirash, I see that we're 1 minute ahead of time. Do I have time for a few more questions to answer?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Alrighty. So this is a question I just answered. I can click here to mark it as answered, and we'll move on to the next one. Can you ever use Menti in a non-anonymous way, for example, to ask a question and use responses to take class attendance? Very good question. So we currently have a few capabilities to do that, but they are not yet available to the American faculty. What we will have hopefully very soon by the end of the year is a full, what we call LTI integration. So we'll have official connection between Menti and Canvas. That will allow for non-anonymous use of Menti, so students will be able to authenticate with their university credentials. And then you'll be able to use whatever happens on Menti to either pass it as attendance or maybe to the gradebook directly because you want to assign engagement points or participation points or quiz-related points. A lot more information will flow on that particular topic once we're ready to release that to Americans' overall faculty base, and you'll hear more about it. Until then, I would say stick to the non-anonymous use unless you just want to ask a very simple, let me come over here, open-ended question or even a word cloud. But if you have 2 students with the same name, it's really hard to tell who's who maybe. So you can just ask who's here. It's the most simple way of taking attendance by asking them to answer with their names. And then you'll be able to see here everyone, like Sylvia is going to answer and Dirash is going to answer and Shilpa, etc. Until we have something a bit more scalable for you to help with that. Alrighty, let me see. There's one more question. I'm pretty sure by signing up on Mentimeter.com with my American.edu address and clicking join AU community or something, it seems to have connected me to the enterprise license. I need to double check because the enterprise license is connected to single sign-on. And from what I understood from Shilpa, it doesn't automatically, the access is not automatically given to you. She needs to work with the identity management team internally at American to ensure that they have given you the correct access. However, I would double check that with her and ensure that it's clear because it should not be automatic like that. Currently, we don't have what we call a campus-wide agreement with American, so there is a limited number of licenses. So if you were given the chance to automatically join something and be given the full access, then there is a I don't know, a gap somewhere in the flow that is definitely not aligned with what American currently is focusing on. Alrighty, any other questions, verbal or through Menti? No? Well, thank you for joining this very, very short overview of what Mentimeter is and how you can use it. First order of business, once again, just reach out to Canvas at American to request your proper access. And because once you request that, Shilpa's team will be able to give you all of the additional information you need to get started with useful materials and internal guides that are available to all faculty. And you also had my email address as well, and I believe it was available in the promotional material for this session as well. Feel free to reach out. Shilpa Dasgupta, the manager for the Canvas team, is phenomenal and will be very, very happy to work with you one-on-one as well, if need be.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Where is the Canvas team on campus?
Right here.
Yeah, we don't know who she's referring to.
Hi,
so I've got
Sylvia.
it to
I
you.
don't think you can see me.
No.
Hi, Shilpa.
Oh my God. Okay, so good that I've been praising you while you've been there the whole time.
I have been sneakingly hearing, so thank you for that.
Okay, well, here's it, everybody. Just reach out to Shilpa. She will get your access sorted out and help you get
Okay, but
started.
where are you based? I mean,
Yeah, so we are based in the library on the third floor,
third floor.
room 321. And since you asked, I have some handouts with all the details. Sylvia, I'm just passing on our contact information here.
Okay, Bruce.
Wonderful. And I'll reach out to you, Shilpa, about the email registration that seems to maybe log people into the.
Oh, yeah. So to explain, if you try to click on the link and you automatically got a connection to Menti, that means probably you are already part of the Active Directory team that our OIT has set up for Menti. And that's why it became so easy. Many users have come back to us saying that they tried, it did not work. That means you're probably not part of the Active Directory, and I work with OIT to get you that connection. So just reach out to Canvas, like Sylvia has already mentioned, and I have some handouts with our contact details, basically.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.